Hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. I don't know why, but my video is closed now. I'm not sure if you can hear me. Yoni, our technique guy, you hear me? Very good. Now I also can see myself, and I hope you all see me as well. So welcome, everyone. I'm so happy to have you here. My name is Elad Meyer, and I'm the director of the Israelis Abroad pillar in Mosaic United. I'm very excited, both because of this is my first webinar ever. I've never did it. And second, because our RFP that went out for North America and you attending here in the very first webinar of myself is actually as a sign that this project that people were working for on it for the last 1.5 years is finally launching, and Bezrat Hashem, help God, it's on its way. So that's something that gives me a huge excitement, and I'm very happy to share it with you guys. What we're going to have in the coming 45 minutes, maybe an hour, hopefully less. We're going to go through a bit about Mosaic United. We're going to go through what is the Israelis Abroad pillar, and then we're going to drill down to the RFP. I'll try to explain some of the crucial things on the RFP and help you with the process of getting it done. Elisheva Kupferman, who works in Mosaic United, will join us as well. And we're going to open it for your questions and answers. Because of the time and because of the platform, we ask you to write it down in the QA you have at the bottom of your computer. So please write them down. We will say them and try to answer as much as we can. So a bit about myself. My name is Elad Meyer. I'm a former Jewish agency, Shaliach for Scandinavia. And I was one of the founder of 929, 929, the platform of Tanakh daily studying in Hebrew and in English. For the last 8 years, I was involved in the national institutions in Kakal JNF and also at the WZO, World Zionist Organization. From 1st of January this year, 2020, I'm here in Mosaic United working for the Israelis Abroad pillar. And the background, I will say it in a minute. Now we'll try to have a 3 minutes video of what is Mosaic United. Let's do it like this. Yeah, Yoni, please put the video on.
I want to read you a story. Once upon a time, a girl named Hannah went to a Jewish summer camp. She had a wonderful time and longed for many more experiences, but didn't know how to find them. So she went on with her life. The end. Not much of a story, is it? All of these dots represent Jewish organizations doing incredible work, engaging young people at different points in their lives. But a single experience, like Hannah's, is not nearly enough to keep a young person connected. Our Jewish future depends on consistent engagement and meaningful opportunities for growth. In an unprecedented way, global Jewry and the State of Israel are joining together to ensure the future of our people. The result? Mosaic United, a strategic partnership that connects the multitude of options into routes for personalized Jewish journeys. Instead of Hannah ending her journey, she can take advantage of a holistic continuum of Jewish engagement throughout her formative years. Following extensive research, we established 10 key areas of engagement for young Jews between the ages of 12 and 35, our pillars. Each pillar offers young people a wide array of options. Mosaic United invests new resources and offers best practices from across the private sector and Jewish world to existing and new organizations, amplifying their impact and effectiveness. For example, our campus pillar engages tens of thousands of new students annually, including on campuses with no previous Jewish activity. And while participants are engaged on campus, we are already helping them find the next stage in their Jewish journey. By working together, we can create a thriving Jewish people with renewed personal connections to their Jewish identity and stronger bonds with Israel, making stories like Hannah's look more like this.
Very good. Thank you very much, Rabbi Benji. I will try to open my video. Yoni, if you can help me with that. Very good. I'm here again. Thank you so much. So yeah, this is Mosaic United, and Israelis Abroad is one of the pillars that Mosaic United is about to establish. The background to that pillar is that there are about 1 million Israelis that are not living in Israel. You can always, the numbers are always can be argument, but most of those are in North America. We're talking about between 600 to 700,000 Israelis with their children in North America. And their main, the main character is that most of them are unengaged. They're not sending their kids to Jewish school, but to public. They're not members of the Jewish community institutions, and they're losing their connection to Israel and to Judaism. So we're here in order to invest and to give incentive in order to Jewish education providers to make programs to this market of Israelis. That's why we sent out this request for proposal. We're going to work through organizations. It's either a Jewish organization that today is not working with Israelis, but see the option and see the market and wants to go inside, or an organization that today works with Israelis, but wants to deeper and want to make his participant more available and to get the market wider. So that's why we went out with this request for proposals. We have several partners. The IAC is a partner, and Friends of Orot and Yad Mordechai, which mainly focusing in Europe. Those are our partners, and they, with a joint venture of the government of Israel through the Ministry Diaspora Affair Office, they turned to Mosaic in order to establish this pillar. And the researches that were made here in Mosaic showed that as long as we're doing consistently educational programs for this specific target audience, they will be much more engaged, and we can get them from under-engaged to engaged. This is our target. So I would like to ask Elisheva Kupferman, if you can turn on your camera now, in order to tell us a bit more about what brings us to that stage. Yeshua, Yoni, are you putting Elisheva with us? Or maybe, do I need to put her on a host? I will do that. I will do it now. Just a second. As I told you, that's my first one. Go, Elisheva.
Thank you. Thanks, and hi, everybody. Wherever in the world we're finding you today, and wishing you well in this kind of crazy time that we're all experiencing. I wanted to share a little bit of the thinking that went into the development of this project and some of the theories of change that underpin it. Part of the strategy, at least in this very early initial stage, is to examine what creates communal behaviors, what creates the sense of belonging that Jews across the world and across every stream or denomination or non-denomination, when they feel engaged and belong to a community, what are the kind of ingredients that create that sense? And we looked at a bunch of the research out there on community engagement. And what we're trying to do, at least in this initial stage, is to create communal habits of sort of repeat encounters, the building of habits that essentially keep people coming back for new kinds of experiences in different places. And so if you looked at the RFP, I'm sure you noticed that what we're looking to do is to create providers or organizational options that offer a variety of different program opportunities. What is interesting to me or to a younger child this year may not be interesting to them next year. And we want to make sure that we can, as organizations, offer something that's going to keep people interested and offer value proposition over and over again. We're looking for increased quality, and part of that is not just what's the draw to get people in, but what are the things that really that we know have impact and that we know will really offer something substantive that's going to basically play on the identity gains that we would like to be seeing. We want to increase frequency of engagement and essentially get people to come close to one another and to the organizations. Now, we're not just thinking about what the Israelis in the communities are looking for or would be interested in. We're also looking at the communal agencies, some of whom are used to working with this audience, but many of whom are not. And essentially the reason we think that there's a need for a specific strategy that targets Israelis around the world is because many of our existing infrastructure around the Jewish world doesn't kind of have the Israeli population as on their agenda, either because they don't know about them, or they don't know how to find them, or they don't know what would kind of attract this, this group that sociologically really does behave differently, which we of course know and have learned. And our hope is that with the success of the initial phase and growth into new kinds of activity over time, that we would really succeed in getting existing organizations in the Jewish community to really view this population as present, as part of their communities, as an asset, and really worthy of attention. We are basically not telling any organization what program to offer. Our model is not top-down and doesn't believe that there's one size fits all. We think that you all, the program providers, will know what best way to interact and engage and pull in this audience. And we've essentially set up, and you can see it all laid out in the RFP, and we can also dig into it later today, what our standards and criteria are. We've basically mined the research and put together those best practices. But beyond those key ingredients, it's completely open to all of you operators to figure out what's going to work for you in your community, what's going to work with your population, and for really to figure it out by trial and error what works. We view this initial stage as experimentation, and our hope is that kind of all of us together can learn with time what are the kind of program offerings that really are successful and that can be replicated and scaled into other communities. And so we kind of invite you on this journey with us, which is new and exciting and different. There are communities where there's really, really interesting and exciting things happening for Israelis, and there are communities where there's really not. And we are really excited to see what a pretty significant, at least initial investment and boost into this field can create with all of the creativity that you guys as experienced program professionals have to offer.
Thank you so much, Elisheva. In order to me to open my video, you have to put me on a host. So let's try to do it. Okay, we already have one question here, which I would like to answer now because I think it's important. So I'm from Barcelona, can we apply to this program? So this specific RFP is for North America, United States and Canada. But our pillar and Mosaic United, we're looking at the Jewish world, and we are looking for to work with Israelis all over the world. This is the first stage. We're gonna have a different way of strategy to Europe. So I think it might be interesting for you to stay with us and to understand the core of our programs. And please be in contact with us directly regarding Europe. I'm available, Elisheva is available, so please try to be in contact with us, and you're welcome to stay. So thank you very much, Elisheva. I would like to add to what Elisheva said, that this is our first year of programming. The first year of programming is about $3 million project, and we're, of course, about to grow for the second and the third year. We're looking for different organizations, as Elisheva said. It can be a big organization or a small organization or individual that goes with a partner organization. And we also send this RFP in order to learn more about the field. And that's why it's very essence for us to get all your applications and to learn more about how you active or how you want to active. Another thing that is very important to mention, that we are funding just 2/3 of this budget, meaning that each provider should be a partner with our program with amount of 1/3 of the program. I will give an example very soon in order to you to understand more about that. Yeah, so eligibilities, I hope you all read the RFP carefully, which I think is very important. And you probably noticed that it's very important for us to have an SJE and an SIE, a senior Jewish educator and a senior Israel educator, with their criterias and with their specific guidelines about who can be one of those. They also can be one person together if it meets the criterias. Please have a careful look at that, because that's something that we will look very carefully for that. And also, I would like to add that we also can fund just outputs, meaning that after making the, of course, we're going to have a year plan, and you're going to send it to us, what your plans are, how many people you think you're going to meet. But later on, funding is just about how many people the program met, how many participants you have, how long they were participating in the program, how long was the engagement, what was the specific engagement, and this is something that we also have to measure. So yeah, that's an output project. Another very important thing in the RFP is that it's all the time you have to think about how we get people to be more engaged. This is what we want to see when you are presenting your programs. What will make people more engaged in the program? It can be whatever you feel. It can be, I mean, we want you to be creative. We're open to creativity, but the main thing for you is to understand, to tell us how you're going to engage this specific population. About timeline, so we published the RFP at 11th of June. Now it's written that 13th of July will be the last day of submission. Between 13 to the end of July, we'll get everything to with our team. We'll go through the application, we will learn. Maybe we will ask you to give us more information and more details and more documents. Hopefully till the end of July, we will finish that. We have a small committee, a professional committee that's supposed to give the steering committee of the program, which we have on the steering committee, each one of the partners, the government, the partners from IAC, Orot and Yan Mordechai, and of course, Mosaic. And after we give them our suggestions, we will decide who is the succeeded program, and then we will notice to you. The date, I mean, I don't want to say a date, but it has to be somewhere at the beginning of August, because we know that you have to prepare yourself to the coming year that Be'ezrat Hashem hopefully will start as regularly with no problem from COVID around somewhere in September. So I think we're getting into answering questions. I will ask Yoni, our supporter here, to help me with reading the questions and try to answer them. Can you hear?
So
we can hear you, Yoni.
Okay, so the first question we have is, why is the target audience limited to 8 to 36 and separately to families with children up until the age of 18?
Okay, so I'll try to answer that question, and I think Elisheva will help me to make the exact answer. So first, Mosaic target audience is young people, start age to 36. This is Mosaic target audience. That was the decision in the government when Mosaic was established. But in this pillar, in the Israelis Abroad pillar, we are looking as on a family as a holistic part. I mean, we want to engage the parents, and we want to engage the children, youth, and young adults. So that's why we put that as a how do you say, as a minimum, and that's the limitation of the target audience. Elisheva, you want to add something about that?
Yeah, I guess the reason until age 18 is because Mosaic United has a campus pillar that's intended to specifically target college, university age young adults. And so the assumption is that through our work on campus, we will reach the Israeli population as well. And so essentially what we're trying to do is look at the family unit and try and reach as broad a spectrum. Looking very carefully at parents of any age, not just 36. If a parent is 50 but has a child who's 9, that parent is absolutely within the target audience of this pillar. And we can imagine a lot of communal organizations offering programs that target the parents in particular, which is something we're really excited about. And so essentially by doing 8 to 36 for the sort of quote unquote young audiences, but then allowing parents of any children up until age 18, we've basically reached as broad an audience as possible.
Thank you. Let's go to the next one.
Okay, another question we have. It's a question that we received in Hebrew, so I will translate. It says that, are we getting funding only after accomplishing a project and achieved our goals, or we can get some funding trying to achieve the goals, get some funding attempting to initiate a project?
Okay, so in this request for proposal, we're working just on a model of outputs, but having said that, if it's a new program and we will see how you're going to work and we'll see the work plan, etc., we will start if you succeeded and we decided that this organization, we want them to establish this program, so we will have 25% of the budget, we will fund them at the early stage of 1st of September or when the program started, because we understand that the field cannot live just by itself and we have to give some incentive in order to help you to get the program started. So yes, we are funding just by outputs, but still we will help you to start with 25% of the budgeted, the budgeted money that you were supposed to get.
I'll just add to that, Elad. Programs that are accepted following the application process will basically enter a more detailed sort of agreement with Mosaic. And part of that agreement will include a timeline with milestones for payment. And so at every stage, there's the initial stage includes a projection of how many participants you expect to reach. And then at every checkpoint, kind of a real-time check-in with how you're doing in that process. And at the end of the year, a final payment, which will essentially kind of even out the balance. If you performed beyond the projections, then the final payment will be larger, etc. The minimum, like Elad said, is 40 budgeted participants, 40 participants that you can get to meet the criteria that we've set forth, but we completely understand the cash flow needs. If we want you to invest more in your programming, that requires funds, including new funds. And so we'll work with each provider to build a timeline that is realistic and works for your needs.
Great, Elisheva, thank you. Yoni, next question.
When will you evaluate the number of participants? Will the funding reach the organizations only by the final evaluation?
So I will ask Elisheva to answer that one.
I think that question was asking about the cash flow. I could be wrong. So evaluation is separate, and we will be evaluating. We work with Rasav Consulting, which is a pretty prominent consulting firm in the Jewish world, and they'll be evaluating our program as we go. So the question of evaluation is separate. We won't have evaluation results or outcomes until much later in the process, certainly not within the first year. But of course, we are building this to be iterative, and we plan on learning from this as we go. So regarding evaluation, that's certainly built into our plans. And in terms of the question of when we're counting the participants, like we said before, we're going to build a schedule with each provider and check as we go.
Yeah, mainly I will just add that we're going to have 3 milestones around the year that that will make the cash flow more easier. Let's go to the next one.
Okay, so we have someone asking, I have a senior Jewish educator on my staff who gives lectures. Can I split his or her salary and pay them for his lectures using funds from Mosaic United?
Okay, so if I understand correctly, I mean, what we can fund is only the needs of the certain program. Meaning, if you use this SJE for other programs, you can pay him for that. But what you have to report for us is what you use. I mean, the use of this SJE to the certain program that you were supposed to be funded to. I hope that answered the question. Let's go to the next one.
Okay, must each Jewish or Israeli session have 10 participants?
That's the Hebrew one. I'm supposed.
No, I skipped
Okay.
one. We'll get back to that.
Okay, so again, please, must each Jewish Israeli session have 10 participants? Yeah, the thing is like that. I mean, the minimum funded participant is 40 participants, but it can be splitted by different programs. So if you went through the RFP, so you saw that there is intensive and gateway. There are different tracks of involvement. So if you have like 25 in one and 15 in another, so you have 40 participants that we will budget. So it can be combined with the tracks.
I'll just add to that, there's certainly an emphasis in a group or cohort experience that we want participants of the programming to have the kind of encounter with the other and create some social networks through that. But we have included a certain allowance, depending on what program track, to do one-on-one engagements also. So if the senior Jewish educator or the senior Israel educator want to have like coffee dates or one-on-one or learning sessions, individually, we would count that towards a budgeted interaction, but within there's caps. We really want the majority of the interactions to be group and cohort-based experiences, but we do see a value, of course, in the one-on-one relationship, and so there's a maximum number of one-on-one that's also built in.
Very good. So Yoni, which question we are now?
So the question we had before in regards to the benchmark, and the question goes, what about the numbers we currently have? Are you also looking on the current numbers of participants we have, or just on the added number of participants?
Great question. So the benchmark we are talking about is, of course, if we have a new program that never existed, it's another story. But if you have already a program for this target audience, so we can fund just above the benchmark, meaning that either there are two options. Either you have 30 participants today, we can pay from the 31 and up. But if you have today 30 participants in the program, but they're not meeting our criteria, they don't have an SJE and an SAE, they don't have those numbers of engagement, the length of the engagement, etc. So now this current program will meet our new criteria, so it's counted as a new program. So the benchmark, it's either the program you have, but more people, or the program you have, but now meets our criteria. So that's the benchmark. If I wasn't so clear, just please hit me again.
And I just want to add, in the event that there is existing programming that meets our criteria, we establish the benchmark based on the average of the previous 2 full years of programming.
Thank you for adding that, Elisheva. Great. Next question.
The next question is, what is the timeline for the implementation of the program? Is it September 2020 up until August 2021?
Yes, exactly. We're talking about the coming academic year, but I have to say that we don't want to fund just the first year. So what we are planning is that if a provider succeeded to answer our RFP and we decided that they will be funded, it will be for the coming 2 years. So next year in June, we'll have to work on the work plan for the year 21-22. But this third RFP for now is for 2021, as written, from September to August. Next one, Yoni.
Okay. How will the collaborations between Israeli organizations and North American or Canadian organizations will occur in these times of COVID-19? And will it be possible to organize events or educational seminars in Israel and not only outside of Israel?
Okay, Elisheva, do you want to answer?
Yeah, I'm not sure I understood about programs in Israel. The primary focus of this activity is going to be focused outside of Israel. We're certainly open to other ideas moving forward, but for the initial phase, we're looking at local communal programming around the world. In particular, this RFP is for North America. In terms of the COVID, we're of course absolutely aware that communal gatherings and classical engagement currently isn't happening, and we're not sure when it will start to happen. So what we're trying to do is establish the relationships based on the RFP, but certainly we understand that we're going to be making changes and exceptions to accommodate the changing times, and we might end up doing kind of digital engagement. We might look at the number of engagements and lower it depending on if programming does go back to usual, but maybe a few months late. So kind of we're figuring it out with you all as we go along, waiting to see. There are communities where communal engagement will resume very soon, and there are communities that likely won't resume anytime soon. So we are obviously waiting to see what happens and certainly open to flexibility in the coming time. There's no other way for us to move forward.
Thank you, Elisheva. Next question. I can see a question from Yaakov Cohen. With which organization are you collaborating? There are programs for Israelis on American campuses. What makes you unique? So I'm not sure if you were here before, Yaakov, but as we said before, we're not planning the programs. We are waiting for you, the providers, to give us proposal of how the programs will look like, and the uniqueness is yours. It's not ours. Our unique is that we want to collaborate the whole field, and we want to incentive, and we want to make sure that this population of Israelis get the best practice and best programming for getting them engaged in their Jewish communities. So I think we can skip for the next one from Reut. Yoni?
Yeah, can we apply for several activity track? Can one organization activate a few tracks, couple of tracks?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned that before. Each provider can activate a couple of tracks, and we will combine them together. So you can have adults, parents, programs, and you can have bar bat mitzvah, and you can have youth programs, and etc.
We have a question about the language of the programs. Do the programs have to be in Hebrew? If the language of the instruction is English but aims at Israeli North American teens, is it okay? So the issue of English and Hebrew.
Yeah. So the program is supposed to be delivered to the target audience in the language that they want to hear. So if the Israeli population where you're staying wants to have the program in Hebrew, so you should make the programs in Hebrew. For us, it doesn't matter if it goes in Hebrew or in English. What we are aiming is the content. Of course, that we wanna promote Hebrew because we think that the language is very important. And also we said that in the SJE and SIE, if they know Hebrew, it will be an advantage, but it doesn't matter in which language the program is activated.
We have a question about the issue of interactions, and someone is asking, what do we consider to be an interaction in this initiative?
Okay, so I'm sending this person to read the RFP closely and in a deep reading, because it's written there what's in interaction, and there is a table that you can also, can see how many interactions can be in person and online and with parents, etc. So it's very detailed there, and I think it's better for you to read the RFP.
Next question is, will you require the names and contact information of each participant?
Okay, that's a good question. In order for us to fund and participate in the budgeting, we will have to know about the participants. We'll have to know their names, their age. Also, we'll have some data about the email address and gender. But that's something that we will, if you one of the providers that will get into contact with us, we will explain more about the evaluation we need. We have a company, an external company, Deloitte, who is doing our evaluations. And then we have also Rosov, so they will need that information.
So the next question is about the issue of SIE and SJE. Can you please clarify if each organization needs to have both senior Jewish educator as well as senior Israel educator, or you need just to have one of them on your staff?
Great question. So I thought that I mentioned it before, but I will say it again. As long as the person meets the criteria of the SJE and SAE, it can be the same person. It also can be two different persons. That's for the providers to decide. But of course, it has to meet the criteria that is written in the RFP, who can be an SJE or an SIE. Elisheva, do you have something to add to that question?
Nope, that's great.
Thank you. Next one.
Okay, how many programs are you looking to fund?
Okay, so it depends by the number of participants. So maybe that's the time we can put up, Yoni, if you can, I have an example of how we fund, because I see there also a question here about the 2/3 and the third. So let's try to put up, Yoni, if you can share screen with us. We have here an example of a small center in Denver, a small provider that is going to ask for 40 participants in 2 tracks. One is the Gateway Youth and one is the Intensive Youth. So this center has 25 participants. They have to go through 15 sessions in the Gateway Youth, and in the Intensive Adults, they have 15 participants and they have to go for 20 sessions. So if we have $1,100 per participant in Gateway, and they have 25 participants, the total is $27,500. And if you take 2/3 of that, we have $18,425,000 for that track. And then for the intensive one, if you can see the calculation of $1,300 per participant, double it with 15 participants is $19,500. Then the 2/3 goes here, 13,000 with $1,000 about, and the total, I can't really see it here. Maybe you can see it if Yoni can just go down a bit. The total will be for that center of 40 budgeted participants is $31,490. So I hope this answered the questions. So let's go back to the next question, Yoni.
Do you cover flight costs for collaboration meetings to prepare for the program, for example, to plan a community event in Toronto, when an Israeli participant who is the lead educator could fly to Canada to plan ahead with the local partner?
So I think that the best answer will be that while answering the RFP, we will see your budget, planning budget, and your annual year plan. And then if we will see different kinds of roles like with flights, then we'll have to decide if what exactly we fund. I'm not sure I'm answering the question. I think you know what? The best will be that I'm not sure of that question. Now we'll have to check it out. I'm writing it down for me to see if we can also fund flights for lectures. Okay, so I will try to get back to you. Is that Lior, the video? What we will do is, tomorrow or the next day of tomorrow, we will publish in our landing page, like a Word or a PDF with all the questions and answers. So I will try to answer that one and to add that to our to the file.
Okay, so we got a question here that we kind of rephrased in order to make it a bit more understandable. You've put a value and a cost on taking a particular person through a track. What if it costs me more than what you wrote it down? What if it costs me less? Will you just be paying based on the performance, or are you paying based on the expenditures?
Okay, I think that's a question to Elisheva.
The pricing that we established was the result of some pretty significant research in terms of what different kinds of programming costs. Obviously, there's a range and different organizations have different expenses. We've landed at this stage on set figures. So the different program tracks have set figures and participants get paid out based on the amount in the track. The sums won't change at this stage based on what the actual expenses are, as far as I know. That is subject to change down the line, but at this point we've landed on those figures because we felt that they were healthy averages that take into account associated costs and the actual costs of the individual programming, and we believe that they're fair. Of course, we'll learn as we go what the needs are of different size program providers, and we'll figure it out whether or not it needs to be changed. But at this point, the 4 different funding possibilities are fixed amounts.
Thank you, Elisheva. I think we have about 5 or 7 more minutes. So if anyone has more questions, and I see that we have still some questions, so maybe we can just go fast with that. Yoni, what is the next question?
So about the counted interaction, what about an online activity or an electronic or digital activity like watching a television show together, having a WhatsApp group together, or doing an online activity with a speaker from Israel? Are you going to count these interactions?
Okay, so as Elisheva mentioned, before COVID-19, we already put in our RFP an option to have online sessions. There is minimum or maximum. I think it's 2. It depends which program is it, but there are options to have online sessions. Of course, now with the COVID-19, and we will try to consider maybe using more online sessions, but we also very much up to having meetings and having studying together and learning together one from each other. So yes, there is an option to online sessions, but it's limited.
Okay, in addition to the program and participants reports, what kind of financial reporting from the providers are required by Mosaic? Are the funds provided as a reimbursement that are first paid out by the providers?
Okay, let me see that I understand exactly the second question. For the first question, the financial reporting for Mosaic is the 990, of the last year of 2019. And if you don't have yet the 2019, you can give us the 2018. For the next question, I'm not sure And if Elisheva will say that she's not sure as well, so we'll write it down and we'll try to answer to you as soon as we have the answer on our landing page. So Elisheva, is that something we have to figure it out?
Yeah, we have to get back to them.
Okay, very good. So we'll get back to you, Jabe, and everyone can see also the answer in our landing page soon. Are we coming to the last question?
Yeah, do you have any requirements of minimum organizational budget in order to apply for Mosaic United? For example, an organization has to have at least a total budget of $1 million to apply.
Okay, that's a great question. The answer is no. I mean, we don't have any requirements. We're looking for new initiatives. We also have the option of an individual that have this crazy idea about how to engage the Israelis. We want to meet him. The only problem is that we don't know how to pay for individuals. We just know how to pay to organizations. That's why this guy with the great idea, which is individual, has to have a backup of an organization, but it doesn't matter the size or the budget of this organization. Okay, we have several more questions. So let's go quickly. Yoni.
Okay. How are the participants funded regarding mixed groups of American Jews and American Israelis? Is the fund go only for the Israeli Americans?
That's a great question, Yoni. Thank you for that. I mean, Yoni Ari, not our Yoni. Thank you, Yoni from Philadelphia. Yes, we have a certain amount of paid participants which are not Israelis. That's written in our business plan. I'm not sure about exactly the percentages, but we have some percentages can be also for the mixed American Jews, but we are aiming to have as much as Israelis in our programs. So I will try to get back to you with the exact amount of how many American Jews can join the programs and be, of course, budgeted for that.
Okay, the next question is, could you please share with us or tell us about the level of interest that this initiative is receiving and how many people have been interested in this webinar and the next webinar, and so on.
Okay, that's great. We have with us today 30 participants from different organizations, from a lot of, I mean, a huge variety. We don't have any, I mean, we have all streams and all kind of participants and organization. I don't really can say exactly. We also have a person from Barcelona, so I think it's a bit wide. Elisheva, can you share a bit about the interested that we got?
Well, we're still rolling, so we'll see what the next few weeks bring, but we've gotten a very kind of exciting range of different types of people, different types of organizations expressing interest. And we're really looking forward to see kind of what happens, if it's going to be the usual suspects that, you know, some of us can think about when we think about engaging Israelis, or what we're hoping to see is a lot of new people reaching out to this audience. So we're really excited about the possibilities, and we would love to see new organizations or denominational streams that haven't traditionally reached out to this population start to experiment like we are with new ways of engaging them. So we will wait and see, but we've already received interest from a very wide range.
Very good. We have 4 more open questions. So let's go to those 4. And for the rest, you can reach out to us and we'll try to answer anything you want.
Okay, in regards to interactions, can we use creative mediums such as cinema and dance?
We would love to see how your creative mediums will meet our criteria. Please give it to us. We really want to see the craziest and the creative thing you can give us.
Okay, do we have to spend the $800 on each participant, or can we be reimbursed for just 2/3 of what we spent?
I'm not sure I really understand the question, Elisheva. If you understand it.
Yeah, I think we've already answered that to say that at this stage, it's a fixed amount. So whatever you actually spend, you might spend more and then the 800 won't be enough. You might spend less and then the 800 will be extra. The main thing that we're going to be checking is that you meet all the criteria and that you're reaching the numbers that we've together projected and set for ourselves as a target. So at this stage, the amounts are fixed.
Okay, there is a question here in Hebrew, which if I understand, it's asked if an already existing organization that works for the Israelis can be supported. I think we answered that. The answer is yes, but we will try to see what's the benchmark and we'll fund it just above the benchmark. So we can go to the next two questions.
So we have a question about immersive experiences. So how many sessions does an immersive experience count for, like a Shabbaton?
Okay.
Or maybe how many interactions?
So I think it's also written in the RFP exactly. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't have the number now, but an immersive experience will be counted not just one regular engagement. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to be counted. So
the funding for the tracks that include immersive experiences is significantly higher, and that the difference in the funding was calculated based on a mapping of the real costs in the field of immersive experiences. So the difference in cost, we know it's very expensive to run Shabbatons or weekend retreats and that sort of thing, and we've tried to build that in to the pricing structure.
Thank you, Elisheva. Great. Last but not least, Reut is asking about our next webinar. Is this Q&A on June 25th basically the same as today, or is it worthwhile to join it as well? So the difference will be that it will be my second webinar ever, and probably it will be much better than it was now because we will gonna learn from your questions. But basically, yeah, it's the same. I mean, we don't plan something very special for that.
I just want to say one thing to Reut and to anyone else interested. We view this webinar as the kind of like the first introduction to us. For those of you who are interested in moving forward with the RFP, our doors are open. So this webinar is us kind of formally opening that door, and we understand that some of the questions might not be clear cut, or some of the things we've asked for may not be clear cut. We're here to kind of hold your hand and give you whatever support you need along the way. So my suggestion is, I mean, if you would like to join again on June 25th, we would be very happy to have you, but most likely the next step for someone like you who got this initial information is to reach out to us one-on-one and to figure out like what are the ways in which that we can support you to move forward and complete your submission to the proposal.
Great. Exactly what Elisheva said. Yeah, so there is a question here from Anat about how you submit the RFP. The information is in our landing page, which I would like to ask Yoni to put in the chat here. I see you already did it. Yeah, so in the chat you have the link to our website, which is israelisabroad.org. And there is a question from Lior. So I will answer Lior's question, and then it will be our last question. But as Elisheva said, feel free to be in touch with us on anything. So what is going to be if we have 30 to 40 participants in different interactions that was improved, and not all of them finished the program? That's the question, right? If we still get the budget per participant, or just the number of final participants. So I'm not sure, but if I'm thinking correctly, so we will have to measure. I mean, those who finished all the engagement and the interactions will get the full price, and those who meet just some of them, they cannot get the total amount of per participant. So we'll have to calculate, because our aim is to get the participant to engage for all sessions, because we think, and the researchers showed, that that's the number of engagement that will get them from A to B. So I hope I answered your question, Lior, and if not, please feel free to get us to reach out. The next steps will be, we'll gather all the questions for the answers for the request for proposal in the coming month till 13th of July, as I said. We will measure them, we'll go through them, and we will let you know if you are in or you are not in yet at the start, I mean, the first days of August. I think at that point, I will have to thank you all for participating and joining us today. For me, it was a very nice experience, which I will learn more till Thursday. Thank you so much, Elisheva, for joining us. I'm sorry that you can't see Elisheva now, but she is still with us. And thank you, Yoni, and also Yeshua for being a shadow and help us to arrange this webinar. We're here for you. Please be in touch with us. We want to hear you. We want to know about your programs. And hopefully, we also can help you do an amazing work with our target audience, the Israelis. So thank you, Guy, and have a great week. Bye-bye.